Hi, so my name's Leanne. I'm a yoga teacher at Genesis Wodonga, and I just wanted to start my first video by showing you some of the real essential, the basis of yoga poses. So if you've always thought about giving yoga a try, but never actually stepped foot into our yoga studio, this might be a really fantastic place for you to start. But also, if you are an experienced yogi, it might just allow you to gain some tips on some of those poses, those base poses that you didn't realize before. So if you'd like to follow along with me, the video is going to go for roughly around 20 minutes and we're just going to break down some of those poses. Now, I have a mat. You don't have to have a mat, you can always just place out a towel. I have a block which you can get from Kmart, quite cheap. I do have a bolster, but it's not essential that you have any of these. You can actually just take a blanket, fold it, and then give it a little bit of height so that you can have something to sit on or to use as a prop. I'm going to use my block today, it's my favourite, and what I'm going to do is place it underneath my bottom and find my sit bones. So my sit bones are those really bony bones in your bottom, and what we do is place them down and try to feel nice and even. So we want to even off through the hips and find a good base of support. So I'm going to breathe in, press back into the spine, lengthen up through to the crown of the head. We want to let the shoulders drop so that we always feel that those shoulders are dropped away from our ears. Easy seat is what this is, so it should be easy for you. So if it's not comfortable to have the knees crossed, always just take the legs out in front, because sometimes be a little more comfortable for you, especially if you've got problems through the knees. So find your easy seat, find what's comfortable for you. Really feel that you're nice and grounded in through that base of support. So your sit bones, in through the hips. We want to breathe in, press back in through to the crown of the head and lengthen that crown of the head up and let your shoulders drop down as you let the breath out. So we close our eyes. This just helps us to see a little deeper inside of our own body. Also helps us to build that connection. So what we're looking for is just to quieten everything down, to quieten our senses down, and just to find our own special space. So allow your eyes to be closed and let's just draw that breath in. So it's a slow breath in. You can take that through the nose or the mouth, but we want to draw it in nice and thick down the back of the throat and just allow your chest to lift a little. So you're looking for that space in between the front ribs and the back ribs. And as you breathe out, let the shoulders fall away from the ears and just allow the body to be a little heavy. So you can sort of feel like you're floating downwards to your base of support. Inhale is really going to nourish the body. So breathe in, lift up from the base. So lift those hips up to ribs, extend the chest forward a little, snug the shoulders back, breathing in. You might even like to just take a pause here. And then as you breathe out, just let all of the breath go. Allow the body to be a little heavy, sinking downwards, letting the shoulders fall away from the ears. So just concentrate on that slowness of breath, the inhale coming in to feed, to nourish. And just watch that movement of the body as the diaphragm grows, the front ribs expand from the back ribs. And then as you breathe out, just watch as everything returns back to normal. Shoulders fall downwards, letting all of the breath go. Just following that pathway of breath, allowing the inhale to be long and deep. And as you breathe out, letting all of the breath go. As we move through our poses and as we start to build our flows, it's this pathway of breath that we keep coming back to. So just slowing the inhales down and allowing the exhales to be nice and long, just letting them all go. Gently open the eyes. The next pose that I want to talk you through is child's pose. This is a really fantastic pose if you're feeling quite overwhelmed, that you feel that there's a lot of energy out there, or if you feel that lots of things are happening all at once. It's really nice just to bring ourselves down. So if you're ever feeling quite overwhelmed, find a spot, even if it's the bathroom, close the door and just come into this pose. It's just a really good grounding pose. So flip yourself over and come over onto hands and knees. Now you can do this without props, or I'm going to show you what you can do using each of the props. First one I'm going to take you through is just with no props. So what we do is we put knees underneath hips, fingertips out in front, big toes together. Make the knees a little wide, lift the tailbone up and take your hips back over your feet. So everyone will be in different positions. Some of you may not be able to get as low as me, and that's okay. You just want to shift those hips back. And then as you come down, we want the belly to be floppy and heavy in between the thighs and the chest to come down. So I like to sway side to side. It's going to give you a little more length through the spine. And just allow yourself to come down on your exhale. Now the forehead comes down to the mat, fingertips nice and spread, and just allow yourself to be nice and heavy. It's important to find that forehead down to the mat. That way you're going to feel nice and grounded. So as you breathe in, just allow the chest to lift just a little, maybe just a few millimeters. And as you breathe out, really let all of the breath go, allowing the belly, the chest, the forehead to sink a little heavier downwards. So I'm just going to show you what that's like with some of your props. So if you do have a blanket or a block and you find that you are a little higher in this pose, for instance, you can't get your bottom quite back, or you're a little higher through the hips, we can use a blanket or a block and place that out in front. And that just allows the ground to build up to us. So breathe in. Set the hips back, and as you breathe out, allow the forehead to come down. That'll just allow you to make that connection, but allow the shoulders to drop down. Just letting yourself sink into this as you breathe out. Now, if we want to take something for longer or a little more restorative, that's when we can use our bolster. So if you do have one of these at home, what we do is we still come in with our knees a little wide, and we take those bolsters out in front, in between the thighs. So just allow those hips to drop back again. Snug the bolster in, hands either side, breathing in, and as you breathe out, sway it side to side. That way you're going to produce a little more length through the spine and turn the head to one side and let yourself soften in. So let the shoulders roll back. Just feel that the back rib cage is expanding. And follow that breath in. Nice deep breath through nose or mouth. Down the spine, into the hips, and as you breathe out, just let yourself sink into this. So as I explained, that's a really nice restorative way if you do have your bolster at home. If not, no props, just coming down, allowing yourself to sink in, just building that connection down to the ground can really allow us to feel grounded with our base of support. So the next one I want to take you through is Cobra. Now we come into Cobra from a number of different positions. Sometimes we come in from plank, or we might come from down dog to plank to Cobra. But a really simple, gentle way to do it is through tabletop. So move your knees back underneath your hips, fingers nice and spread, and we might even just use some nice little cat-cow type movements where we tuck the tailbone up, extend the belly and the chest through. Breathing in, let's round. Tuck the tailbone in and under, look behind. And as you breathe out, just pause here, really lengthening through the back of the rib cage. Inhale. Belly comes down, chest moves forward. And as you breathe out, round it through again. And hold. So that's just going to warm up our spines a little. You can even take a little round through the tailbone, little circles through belly and chest, arms. Just to warm ourselves up a little. So now to get us into Cobra, what we want to do is we want to move those hips forward, pelvis comes forward, belly comes forward. Now I want you to snug those shoulders back and look up. Now we can always press into the top of the feet and create a little more space. Let those thighs come down. So press into the palms, snug the elbows back by the sides, and slowly take yourself down, because the slower you go, the more you're going to work those triceps. Crown of the head extending out. Now inhale, just push the pelvis into the floor. That's going to lengthen your tailbone or your spine out behind. And then breathe in. We're going to lift up through the belly and the chest a little. So your Cobra doesn't have to be high, especially through the initial stages. And then press into the palms, squeeze the elbows. It's going to really work your triceps and come all the way down. So just let yourself soften here. We can work a few Cobras at a time just to warm up that spine. So tailbone comes back, lift up belly, chest. We might come a little higher. Press into the palms, shoulders back, crown of the head extending, come all the way down. Breathe in, tailbone back. Lift up as you breathe out. We might come a little higher. And we might be able to just snake ourselves side to side if we want to make some little more length through that spine. Let's do it one more time. Inhale, tailbone back. Lift up belly, chest. You might even like to take a pause where we snug the elbows back. Extend the crown of the head, open the chest. And slowly come all the way down. Press into the palms. Really going to give you a nice strong workout. And then to come up, we breathe in. We press into hands. Knees come back through tabletop. What's really nice is if you join those toes together, hips nice and wide, and find your child's pose once again. So even with these two poses, we can use that to flow. So we arch through the spine, move the feet out. The knees might come in or they may stay where they are. Belly extend, chest open, squeeze the elbows, press into the palms, come all the way down. Tailbone moves back, lift up, belly, chest. Find Cobra, whatever's right for you. Press into palms, come all the way down. Inhale, press into palms. Pull belly up, move hips back. Big toes together and find child's pose. So that's a really nice way for you to warm up the spine. Also, it might be a way for you to warm up before you undertake some other exercise, or it might be even just a warm down. So you might be cooling down after some exercise. You might have been doing some squat work where you're quite tight in the lower spine, and that will just help you to soften and lengthen through that spine. Now, another big one for yoga is down dog. So this is such a key part of our flow classes because we can use it as a lengthening pose, we can use it as a strength building, And actually, as we progress and become more advanced in our, in our flows and things like that, it's actually a resting pose for us. So it's really important to get that technique correct and really to get all of that integration and thinking about all those different parts of the body. So the first part is to set up in tabletop. So pull knees in underneath hips and place your hands. Now I actually like you to place the hands forward to the shoulders, because if you put them in underneath the shoulders, you get quite a compression through the wrist joint. So if you move them forward and spread the fingers, we're actually lessening that load through the wrist. So if you do find that you do get quite heavy overload on the wrist, just step them forward. Fingers nice and spread, pointy fingers towards the top of the mat, and we want to grip down into those finger pads a little bit like we're Spider-Man. So then what we do is you feel as though you draw the thumbs in together. That's going to open your chest. So you snug the elbows back in, open those chests, and look up. So we can't breathe if we don't have nice open through the heart center. So tuck the toes. We're going to lift hips up to ribs. So we really want to pull that deep inner core in. So hips up to ribs, belly button pulled in, toes are tucked. Breathe in, lift the knees. And as you breathe out, press belly back towards thighs and then lengthen the sit bones. Now, as you can see, my stance is a little wide. So my knees might have been a little further back. So if you're finding you're quite stretching out and you can't quite bring those bellies back to thighs, just step your feet forward. What will happen then is that with a slight bend of our knees, we can press those bellies back to thighs and we lift up through those sit bones. So those bony bones in your bottom, you want to try and lengthen those up to the sky or the ceiling. So fingers are nice and spread. You're pulling in through those thumbs, nice open chest, and we're lifting that rib cage back, so those bellies back to thighs. Now knees are bent. We're trying to lay those heels down to the ground, but you may never get there, so that's okay. So sit bones are pulling up and you're pressing back away from your hands. Now move the knees, just move them back and forth. Go from side to side. So you're trying to press one heel down at a time. So it's quite strong through the front body. We're building strength. We're lengthening through those hamstrings, reducing length through the spine. So just breathe. So there's a number of ways we can go from here. We can lift the heels, lift the hips, pull the hips forward and place the knees down. Back to tabletop and look forward, snug the shoulders back, and we can also come back into down dog. So we can lift the knees, lengthen back up and find your down dog again, walking it out, or we can take it over to plank and cobra. So we can lift the heels, lift the hips, breathe in, roll the weight along the spine, come up on your toes, shoulders over wrists, and you might need to step those heels back. Now keep the hips lifted, the belly button pulled in. Now whether your knees are up or down is not important. You just find whatever works for you, because we want to still be nice and active in this. So we don't need our knees up if that's not right for you. So breathing in, lift up. As you breathe out, pull the elbows back and come all the way down, untuck the toes. So then we're coming into our cobra. So lay the pelvis down, extend through the tailbone, breathing in, press back up, find your cobra, and as you breathe out, let's take it back. Inhale, press into hands and knees. Let's bring big toes together, knees a little wide, find child's pose. So you might feel the need after the compression on the wrist to just give your fingertips a nice little wiggle, or you can pull the hands behind into child's pose, resting them back to the sacrum or to the feet. Just allow yourself to soften here. So you can really allow these three poses. You can use them with flows, or you can just allow yourself to hold in each one as well. So depending on what's right for you. So we can use this as a flow. So we can get set up, tabletop, spread fingers, lift knees, hips up to ribs, pulling belly up, knees nice and bent, pressing away from our fingertips, bellies back to thighs. Lift the heels, lift the hips, roll it forward. Knees come down, untuck toes. Crown of the head extended, come all the way down. Tailbone moves back. Lift up, belly, chest, find your cobra. Come all the way down. Press into hands and knees. Big toes together, knees nice and wide. Hips come back, belly, chest, fingers nice and spread. And come back to tabletop again. So there is just 3 simple poses that, when I say they're simple, but you can use them in many, many ways. So, you know, coming through tabletop, cobra, you've got plank, down dog. So really good, strong basis for our yoga flows. Next time I'm going to release one that has our forward folds, some lunges in there, and we might even work up to a warrior 2. So please feel free to ask any questions that you have, send them through, private message me, whatever you need. And I thank you very much for joining me today. So hands together at prayer, fingers and palms lightly touching. Namaste.